Welcome to Thinking Deeper by 6-7. You know, the story of Exodus, it's one of the most epic escape stories ever told. But what if there's something deeper, hiding in plain sight? In this explainer, we're going to dig into how the story of Moses isn't just about freeing a nation, but about a profound personal journey. It's a story that argues that real strength, real purpose, is only discovered after you've hit absolute rock bottom. It's about how a somebody had to become a nobody to do something truly impossible. So let's just start with this wild idea that frames everything we're going to talk about. The source material suggests something that feels totally backward. That real power, the kind that can actually change the world, doesn't come from your confidence or your skills. It comes from admitting you're completely weak. How could that possibly be true? Well, let's find out. Okay, so to really get into the whole deliverance part of the story, we first have to wrap our heads around what the bondage even was. And the source describes not one, but two very different kinds of slavery happening at the same time. One is historical, and the other is deeply personal. And that brings us to the word Exodus itself. It literally just means the way out. Simple, right? Now, while it definitely refers to that famous departure from Egypt, the source frames it as something much more universal. The search for a way out of whatever it is that holds us captive. And this is where it gets really interesting. On one hand, you've got the literal historical slavery, the forced labor of the Israelites in Egypt. We can picture that. But the source argues there's this second, allegorical slavery going on, our own personal bondage to our worst impulses. And getting free from that is one of the story's main points. The perfect case study for this whole journey, the main man himself, Moses. His life is this incredible 3-act play, a 120-year transformation. Each 40-year act shows a huge shift in his character, from this arrogant prince to a humble servant. So let's start with Act 1. For the first 40 years of his life, Moses isn't just anybody. He's a prince of Egypt. He is powerful, he is privileged, and according to the source, he is completely convinced that he is somebody special, someone who can fix the world's problems all by himself. And I mean, why wouldn't he think that? Just look at his resume. Raised in the Pharaoh's own house, trained in law, government, military combat, he had every advantage you could imagine. He saw his people suffering and naturally thought, I'm the one. I can fix this. So when he hits 40, he decides it's time to act. He sees an injustice and he takes matters into his own hands, relying on his own strength and what the source calls his arrogant wits. He kills an Egyptian and it all blows up in his face. His plan backfires, and he's forced to run for his life. His big attempt at deliverance ends in complete and total failure. Okay, so Moses' first attempt was a total disaster. And while he's fleeing into the desert, let's just take a quick pause. If you're finding this deep dive insightful, please take a second to subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps us keep making more content just like this. All right, so after that epic fail, Moses enters this totally different phase of his life, 40 years in the wilderness. The source kind of calls it his ministry training. This is where the man who thought he was a somebody is about to find out that he is in fact a nobody. I mean, you can't even imagine the fall. One day you're a prince in the most powerful empire on earth, and the next, you're a shepherd on the backside of a desert, a job that the Egyptians found completely disgusting. For 40 years, he's a ghost, forgotten. Then, after decades of silence, when he's 80 years old, his training is apparently over. God speaks to him from a burning bush. And the very first command isn't some grand call to action. It's a call to humility. Take off your sandals, you're on holy ground. It's this incredibly profound moment of submission. So when God gives him this massive mission, go back to Egypt, free Israel, listen to Moses' response. It says everything. The man who once thought he was the hero of the story now asks, who am I? This question is all the proof we need. He's been transformed. He sees himself as a nobody, completely unqualified for the job. And that's the whole point, isn't it? This final act of his life, these last 40 years, isn't about what Moses can do. It's about discovering what God can do through a nobody who is finally willing to get out of the way. This image just nails it, right? Unless the Lord builds the house, think about it. Moses tried to build the house all by himself back in Egypt, and the whole thing came crashing down. The source argues that any real, lasting work only gets done when a divine power is the one doing the building. So the source gives us this kind of divine formula for how things get done. It's the plan of God, using the power of God, through the people of God, to accomplish the purposes of God. Now notice where the people fit in that equation. They are the instruments, the vehicles, but they're not the source of the plan or the power. To really hammer this idea home, the source material points to this beautiful analogy from the New Testament, one that perfectly captures this relationship of humble dependence. Jesus says, "I am the vine, you are the branches. Apart from me, you can do nothing." That's it, the whole principle of the Exodus story right there in one simple image. Let's break that down because it's so powerful. The vine, that's the source of life, the power. The branches, well, that's us. We're just the delivery system. And the fruit, the amazing, impossible thing that happens, it shows up on the branch, for sure, but it's produced by the vine. The branch doesn't create anything. Its only job is to stay connected and let the power flow through it. So we end up with this really challenging question to think about. If the source material is right, if the unqualified and the nobodies are the ones consistently chosen for the biggest jobs, what does that suggest about where true qualification, true strength actually comes from? It kind of turns our whole idea of success completely upside down, doesn't it?